Hello, today we're going to look at immediate responses and long-term responses of Hurricane Katrina. We need to know the immediate and long-term responses to a tropical storm, and we also need to have a named example, which Hurricane Katrina is a good example of. Immediate responses are the assistance and aid given within the hours and days following a disaster. Long-term responses are those that take place in the weeks and months after a hazard event. They focus on rebuilding and reconstructing areas affected by a hazard event. So we're going to look at some of the immediate responses. 1.7 million people were evacuated from the states of Mississippi and Louisiana before the storm struck. 20 to 30% of inhabitants were forced to stay in New Orleans, and most of these people were the poorest who could not afford to evacuate. Louisiana's National Guard asked for more than 700 buses to evacuate people. However, only 100 buses were sent. States of emergency were declared in Mississippi and Louisiana. More than 35,000 people were rescued by the Coast Guards in New Orleans. Charities have provided food, water, and aid to those affected. So now we're going to look at some of the long-term responses. The waters that flooded New Orleans were pumped into Lake Pontchartrain. This took over a month. The US Congress allocated $62 billion to be sent in aid, helping to feed and rehouse the victims of Hurricane Katrina. The US federal and state governments have spent $20 billion rebuilding New Orleans' flood defense systems, with levees, gates, pumps, and flood walls. I'm going to do a little plenary to see how much you've understood about the immediate and long-term responses to Hurricane Katrina. How many were evacuated from Mississippi and Louisiana before the storm struck? $1.7 million people were evacuated. Why did 20 to 30% of New Orleans inhabitants have to stay here even with the storm? They were the poorest people who could not afford to evacuate. How many buses did the Louisiana National Guard request? They requested for 700 and only received 100. Where was New Orleans flood water pumped, with this taking 1 month? Lake Pontchartrain. How much aid did the US Congress allocate to deal with the crisis? $62 billion. How much did the federal and state government spend on new flood defenses? They spent $20 billion. Thank you for watching and have a good day.